A tender worth hundreds of millions of pounds is raising doubts about whether the British government believes in its promise to stop the irregular entry of boat migrants into the English Channel. In order to ensure the arrival, accommodation and medical care of the newcomers, London is planning a total of £700 million for contracts with external service providers over the next 6 years. This emerges from a tender that was recently published but was only picked up by the British media last Monday. An extension of 4 years is therefore possible, but not yet included in the calculation. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has made stopping irregular migration the central focus of his government. In 2022 alone, around 45,000 people reached Great Britain in small boats across the English Channel. And so far this year, the number is significantly lower. Nevertheless, the promise is not considered fulfilled. In order to deter migrants, London wants to send newcomers to Rwanda in the future without examining their asylum application and regardless of their origin. Instead, they should seek protection there, and there are no plans to return them to Great Britain. However, this plan has so far failed due to court decisions. Most recently, the highest British court declared the project unlawful. The British government now wants to address the concerns with written promises from Kigali and new legislation. A law hastily introduced into Parliament aims to declare Rwanda a safe third country and exclude legal recourse based on human rights. Sunak, as I said, has made stopping irregular migration the central focus of his government, and it is still something he cannot say he fulfilled. He did that with the inflation, but more by incident than really by government politics. To save costs, though, the British government is accommodating asylum seekers on residential container ships, and now a person has died on one. Human rights activists criticize the dangerous living conditions. An asylum seeker has indeed died on board a residential container ship housing migrants off the south coast of England, and this was confirmed by the British police and also Home Secretary James Cleverly. The refugee aid organization Care for Calais had previously announced that an asylum seeker had died on the BB Stockholm. The ship BB Stockholm is anchored in Portland in Dorset and can accommodate around 500 people. Tragically, there was a death on the BB Stockholm, is what Cleverly said in Parliament. I am uncomfortable giving further details at this time, but we will of course carry out a full investigation, he said. Emergency forces are currently investigating the circumstances of the incident, is what the police said in another statement. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, as I said, wants to tackle illegal immigration, and it's one of his top priorities. And his government is trying to reduce the cost of housing asylum seekers in hotels by using ships and former military sites. However, this policy is controversial. Human rights activists likened the barge to a prison ship and described it and the use as inhumane. And Care for Calais declared that the government must take responsibility for this human tragedy. Accommodating migrants in this way has led to a serious deterioration in people's mental health as well, they say. We have regularly reported on residents' suicidal tendencies without any action being taken, said Steve Smith, the charity's chief executive. It can't go on like this anymore. Asylum seekers are human beings, many of whom have experienced the worst trauma imaginable through war, torture, and persecution. It is time for our policymakers to treat them as human beings, listen to their traumas, and provide them with refuge. From April 2024, British citizens or those already settled in the UK will also have to prove that they earn $38,700 a year before their foreign partner can live with them. According to HM Revenue and Customs, only 27% of the population earn this much or more. So the UK Conservative government announced these controversial changes as a part of a wider package of measures aimed at reducing net immigration, which has reached record levels in recent years. According to the Home Secretary, this will result in families being able to support themselves. With poorer families at risk of being forced into exile or separated from their children and loved ones, critics say the policy contradicts the right's supposed support for traditional values such as marriage and family. Observers commented that the rules constitute a de facto ban on Britons marrying foreign nationals, with 73% of the population unable to meet the income limit. The government is ignoring recommendations from its own advisory committee on migration to lower the minimum income and overlooking how migrants benefit the UK. Others point out that the new income limit of £38,700, up from £18,600, means that marriage to a non-British citizen will only be possible for high earners in the future. Why does the right to fall in love with someone and build a life with them depend on how much you earn? That was said by Josephine Whittaker-Yilmaz, Policy and Public Affairs Manager at Praxis, that's a British migrant rights group. This is fundamentally wrong. According to the Office of National Statistics, the average gross annual earnings for full-time workers in the UK was £34,963 in April 23. The government expects the change to family visas to reduce net immigration by 10,000 people per year. In the 12 months to June 23, family visas accounted for net migration of 39,000. And Whittaker-Yilmaz, who claimed the policy showed a callous disregard for people's lives, said the policy could have an enormously damaging impact on the mental health of those affected, particularly children separated from their parents. At the same time, it could lead people to become undocumented migrants if they want to stay with their family but cannot extend their visa. The government is prepared to sacrifice the rights of British citizens who happen to fall in love across borders on the altar of reducing net migration, she said. The changes are open to legal challenge as they may breach the right to family under the Human Rights Act 1998 and the European Convention on Human Rights as well. Whittaker-Yilmaz said the changes would disproportionately affect women and younger people who tend to earn less, and she worries about what will happen to those affected in the coming weeks and months. The policy decisions made by the government have an absolutely fundamental impact on people's lives. What we hear is a real sense of powerlessness towards the government, but also real anger, she says. And if you want to know more, the next video is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.